So today we're going to take a look at Published by Chandler. I'm reading this book because I'm currently writing a book, and getting published it seems like something I should be reading about. Um, and because it's so topically important to me, I finished this book. If it were not, I might not have. I don't think it's a particularly good book. So, specifically, Chandler makes the case, or the publishing he talks about is purely self-publishing, and he seems more focused on. He offers some advice that I think is good, and seems fairly good. So it's not like it's entirely without utility, but the book comes off a bit like uh, a string of blog posts where the primary goal is to upsell you to his online programs, and uh, it's written in a way that's very easily digestible, but is kind of almost reads like those marketing emails that are trying to sell you something. The guy's main argument, or like kind of theme, is that you should focus more on marketing your book than producing a good quality book, although this is like implicit. He doesn't say you should produce a bad book or anything like that. But his emphasis is much more on marketing, and it kind of shows in the book. Uh, I I don't think every time I read a book where it seems like they're trying to upsell you to some of their online programs, usually I just feel like I want my time back after it. This book, I don't feel like I want my time back, but I think that's only because the topic's important to me right now. Um, I don't even want to like mention like so some of the stuff he talks about is if you're self-publishing, uh, that I think that might not be in other areas is like timing windows, and giving sales off on your book. Um, let's just get into the ratings. For utility, I give it a 5. It seems fairly useful if you're actually trying to self-publish a book, um, and it's really easy to read. So it's hard to give it a particularly bad score, even though I was not a fan of the book. For entertainment, I give it a 4.5. It's really easy to read. He's got like some stories in there. It's somewhat entertaining. For interesting, I gave it a 5. The subject material's important to me. He does have some recommendations that are interesting. Excuse me. One thing that I think he includes in there that I actually think is a really useful tool is mind mapping. He talks about mind mapping as a way of brainstorming for writing a book, and so that's where you, roughly speaking, you create a main topic and then you write branches off from the topics, and it just branches out like a tree. It's very organic, unlike an outline, which the structure is more formulaic, and so perhaps it's not the best for creativity. I think that that part's really good. I do think that some of his ideas on publishing windows and like giving a sale on your book and just trying to push for marketing and volume, it's somewhat interesting. For novelty, I give it a 3.5. I think if you're trying to publish a book, you should read something on publishing a book. Uh, but it doesn't have to be this book. The um, if you went your life without reading this book, I don't think you would be in bad shape. Um, I'm reading another book on publishing right now as well that I think is considerably better, and also, um, yeah, it gives you more options in terms of uh, what avenues of publishing, and it doesn't just talk about self-publishing. Um, yeah. So for style, I gave it a 2.5. I think that a lot of it is upselling. A lot of it is just kind of flashy, grabby language. Comes off as like a bit like a string of like blog posts. I don't know. I don't think it's particularly well written. It is written. It is organized in a way that's really accessible, and it's written in a way that's really accessible. So I gave it a readability of 9. I think it's. Um, I think if you're writing a book though, and you need a book that is extremely readable, you might have a bit of a problem. I think that writing a book is a task that requires that you read a lot of books, and if you require that books be extremely easy for you to read them, then I feel like if you read a lot and are interested in writing, that's not a problem. So the book's it's really easy to read. Okay, and for difficulty, I give it a 7.5. Easy to read. Overall, 5.29. As far as recommendations go, I'm I guess I would recommend it to someone who specifically says, "Oh, I want to self-publish a book, and I want to focus on marketing, and I don't have a particularly good idea of what to look at." I guess maybe I would recommend it. Um, Even then, probably not. I don't think this book was very good. Um, and perhaps his program online is better, but I don't appreciate books that kind of just seem a bit like an upsell to your programs, which is something he advocates for in the book. And maybe I'm just completely out of touch with that way of doing things or that sort of philosophy. But when you give away a book for free or cheap, it's not really free or cheap because people have to give their attention to it. And if you value their attention, you won't spend an entire book telling them about how great, or an entire book as an infomercial. I mean, there's some substance in this book. That's not fair, but I wouldn't recommend it, I don't think, to anyone, really. As far as discussion goes, is anyone interested in writing a book or currently writing a book? And if so, what's the topic? If you like this video, feel free to give it a like or subscribe, and have a good one.